More than 250,000 Brits live full-time in the Costa del Sol, making it the biggest expat community in the world. Among them, con men, small-time crooks, and some of the biggest British drug dealers and gangsters running their criminal empires.
Hey! Hey! Quieto! Quieto! Quieto!
Every summer, they're joined by more than 500,000 British tourists hungry for the good life in the UK's #1 holiday destination. And along with them comes an orgy of booze, dope, and violence.
They fucking stabbed me.
Which raises the workload of the police by 300%. For more than 10 weeks, Costa del street crime had unlimited and unprecedented access to the police forces of the 6 biggest resorts as they fight the British summer invasion. Coming up, there's been a late-night rug over a woman.
The man fucking hit me.
The airport cops crack down on British bootleggers. Costa cops bust a trio of suspected drug dealers. And this woman is flirting with the wrong copper.
I sing karaoke instead.
You know, she tried to put the boobs, you know, a little bit high. It's like a, hi, sir.
Marbella, Friday, 1 a.m. The resort is the posh end of the Costa del Sol, attracting more than 100,000 British tourists every year. Most of them are rich, but drunken brawls and disorder are still as common here as in the cheap package resorts. Every summer, arrest figures rise by a staggering 250%, and 3 out of 5 fights involve Brits. Officers Paco Martinez and Francisco Garcia of the Polizia Local have had an urgent call about an incident near a large apartment complex.
There has been a fight about English people, so we have to go there and see what has happened. They need a translator, and maybe I can help. I don't know if too much, but maybe, you know.
Although Brits have been descending on the Costa for more than 30 years, there's still a huge language problem. There are 20 cops on duty tonight, but only Garcia and another officer speak English. Most of the time Brits get into trouble, it's his call. It could be a busy night. On scene, 2 Englishmen have already been nicked on suspicion of assault and carted off to the station. All that remains is a battered and very drunk Irishman.
2 English lads.
Yes?
Yeah, they attacked my my cousin.
Yes.
And I kind of walked up and I broke it up.
Yes.
And I went, sorry, can we, the man fucking hit me. And then from there, I don't know, I can't remember. Like, I was lying on the ground. I can't remember him.
The Irishman claims that he got brutally beaten up by the 2 English blokes already arrested. But a friend of one of the alleged attackers is still on scene. And when the cops talk to her, it's a different story.
One is there with broken nose. He said, have you got light? My friend said no. He's punched him in the throat.
Yes.
So they fight, and his friend has gone.
Okay.
And my friends have been arrested, but they didn't start.
It seems that some English girls went with 2 blokes on a night out where they got chatted up by 2 Irishmen. On the way home, things turned sour and the 4 men started fighting over the 3 girls.
But they won't say it.
There has been a fight about 4 guys. And, you know, a fight, and one with the broken nose, and the other one, no, and, you know, a fight, and alcohol.
With counter-accusations flying and everyone drunk, the cops decide that they can do nothing but take everyone's details and get the Irishman into an ambulance. The Irishman must have really worked his charms. Even though he was involved in a fight which led to the arrest of her mates, this girl still wants to go with him to A&E, much to the anger of her friends.
She's my friend.
Okay,
She's come on holiday with me.
She doesn't.
We met these people for 1 hour tonight, and she's gone in the ambulance with them. Because she's stupid.
After a night in A&E, the man did not want to take things further, and the 2 men arrested on scene before the arrival of our cops were released without charge. It's mid-July at Malaga Airport, the key link between the UK and the Costa del Sol. More than 100 planes land and take off from here, and thousands of Brits pass through every day. Most of these travellers are here for the sun, but a small minority come with illegal intentions. The Costa del Sol is not only the main entry point for drugs into Europe, but also a bolt hole for many British criminals on the run from the law. Policing airports is the job of the Guardia Civil. As part of their duties, the officers x-ray every piece of checked-in luggage. Although they're mainly looking for explosives, anything suspicious warrants investigation. Several flights are heading for the UK in the next couple of hours, and Team Alpha have just spotted 3 suspicious suitcases. The x-ray indicates they're stuffed with something other than clothes. There's a long history of terrorist attacks on Spanish holiday destinations, so security staff decide to search them now in front of their owners. The baggage labels reveal that they're Brits on a flight to Manchester. They're immediately taken from the boarding gate to the loading hall next to the planes. And the passengers seem apprehensive when ordered to open them. The group claim that they don't have the keys. Finally, a fumbling hand finds the right key and the case is opened. It's stuffed with cigarettes. In Spain, a packet of 20 cigarettes costs only £1.70 compared to £5.10 in the UK. But under Spanish law, it's illegal to export more than 40 packs without special paperwork. And this suitcase certainly has more. The second case contains just as many. Although the group haven't got an export licence, they claim they checked with British Customs and Excise before buying the cigarettes. Under UK law, people are only allowed to bring back cigarettes from the EU for personal consumption. While there's no official allowance, custom officers will start to get suspicious if people bring in more than 3,500 cigarettes. And as the cops open the third case, it's becoming clear that the trio have got more than 1,000 cigarette packs with them and would need to pay an import duty in the UK. All 3 cases were checked in by the man and the woman in the pink top, so the blonde woman is innocent and free to board the plane home. For the other 2, it's a trip to the station. After an interview and the confiscation of their cigarettes, the couple were released without charges. However, Spanish police took their details. Should they get caught again, they'll be treated as repeat offenders and could expect a less lenient outcome. While in Spain, overall cigarette consumption remains steady, it's hugely increasing in tourist areas like the Costa. According to Spanish tax officials, this is caused by British tourists buying huge amounts of cheap cigarettes. It's estimated that of the 70 billion cigarettes smoked in the UK, more than 10 billion are brought in from abroad. Back in Marbella, and officers Garcia and Martinez have just heard of an accident in the hills outside Marbella.
A man, he has fall and he needs help, so we're going, if it's true.
Marbella is one of the richest towns in Europe. It's got the highest concentration of Rolls Royces in the world outside of LA. Most of its wealth's been created by the influx of moneyed Brits. But the mountains surrounding Marbella are rural and peaceful backwaters still untouched by tourism. Although it's part of their territory, the cops rarely get called out here. But tonight, it's a step back in time to policing on the Costa before the arrival of the Brits. Somewhere in this dark hillside, a shepherd has been heard shouting desperately for help.
Hola! Hola!
It's pitch black. The only thing the cops can do is shout and listen for his cries.
Callarse, callarse. Tengo otro pitido, Montero.
A neighbor has heard somebody asking for help, but we don't see anything.
According to the man who made the call, the shepherd is in his 80s and was in agony the last time he spoke to him. He's worried that he's broken his leg and might die from his injuries.
Venga, venga.
Time's running out. The cops race once again to find him.
¡Juan! ¡Juan!
No answer.
Juan, ya llamo yo a la policía y me decía que no puedo andar, que no puedo andar.
¡Juan!
The silence is worrying. But then suddenly, from deep within the darkness, there's just been a faint shout further down the mountain. The cops must get to him quickly.
Juan, escúchame, ¿y tienes algo partido? ¿Por dónde has bajado?
The cops have pinpointed his position, but it's still proving impossible to get to him. The man's trapped in a deep crevasse with a broken hip. They have to call the fire brigade. The firemen, or bomberos as they're called in Spain, immediately move into action. With their training and equipment, it's a straightforward rescue. 15 minutes later, they've got the shepherd out of the hole. It turns out the man fell when looking for wild grapes. Although he spent more than 2.5 hours with a broken hip in a crevasse, he's still upbeat.
¿Cómo está, Juan?
But he was lucky that he was heard. According to the police and fire brigades, the man wouldn't have survived the night. He's currently still recovering in hospital. With their unusual mission accomplished, it's time for the cops to return to Marbella and continue their usual business of cleaning up the streets of drunk Brits. Still to come, it's the end of the road for these suspected dealers. And welcome to hell, life as a Brit in the Costa's toughest prison.
His hand over his neck there with blood spurting onto his neck. He'd been stabbed in the neck with a ballpoint pen.
The Costa del Sol is not only home to the biggest British expat community in the world, but with more than 500,000 tourists every summer, it's also the UK's #1 holiday destination. And with Brits packing the beaches and flooding the resorts, the police workload explodes by 300%. For more than 10 weeks, Costa del street crime had unlimited and unprecedented access to the police forces of the 6 biggest resorts and is right at the forefront of their battle of the British invasion. Coming up, Costa cops catch a trio of drug dealers. And batting her eyelids gets this British drink driver nowhere.
I don't care how your boobs are, or I don't care how your legs. If you are out the limit, you are out of the limit, so that's it.
Marbella, 4 a.m. On a routine roadblock to hunt down drink drivers, local police officer Antonio Morales has just stopped an Englishwoman.
I've just had a glass of wine.
Although she claims to have had only 1 glass of wine, she still has to give a breath sample. For years, Spanish cops had the reputation of being lenient on drink driving. 2,500 people killed every year in accidents triggered by alcohol. The government has now ordered the police to be extra tough, but this woman seems to think she can wriggle herself out of it with some giggly schoolgirl antics.
A little bit strong. Yeah, a little bit strong. I know, I understand you. Don't worry about it, okay? Don't be nervous, okay? Don't worry, okay? So, let's go. Okay, stop. This way. Let's see the results, okay? The limit in Spain is 0.25. So that's your is 0.50. You know what I mean?
No, I'm over the limit.
So you are out of the limit. Yeah, you know. So please, can you come with us, please?
She's twice above the Spanish legal limit of 25 milligrams of alcohol in a breath sample. Looks like she had more than just 1 glass of wine. She certainly stopped giggling. The cops need to take a second sample with a more accurate breathalyzer. In the UK, police can only afford to keep one of these expensive machines back at the station. But well-funded Marbella local police have installed several in the back of patrol cars. Another cop, and another chance to flirt her way out of the situation.
Can I sing karaoke instead?
Yes. No. Stop it, please. No.
Hello.
Please.
Hiya. Yeah, no, I've just been pulled over by the police. I'll ring you back in a minute, love. All right. Bye. Okay, bye.
Take it off, please. Okay. Strong and continue. More.
A positive result here, and the cops get enough evidence to charge her. 0.49, again twice above the legal limit. She's in trouble. She's tried the happy, flirty schoolgirl approach, but with the situation getting desperate, it's time to turn on the waterworks.
Sorry, I sorry your situation, but, we are working, you understand us,
The cops are having none of it. With all attempts failing, she finally shows her true colours.
Will you stop shining that light on me?
She tried to put the boobs, a little bit high. It's like, hi, sir. Are you sure what you're doing? Yeah, sure. We're sure what we're doing. So I don't care how your boobs are, or I don't care how your legs, I don't care how your face or your attitude. If you are of the limit, you are out of the limit. So that's it. Tricks. And sometimes they cry, or or whatever. No, many try to broken our heart. But that's it.
Despite her fury, the woman still gets off lightly. She's landed with an on-the-spot fine of €600, that's £400, and gets her car confiscated until she's sobered up. Back in the UK, being twice above the legal limit would have led to a mandatory driving ban. This is the destination for all those Brits in bigger trouble than drink driving. Just outside Malaga, the notorious remand prison of Alhaurín. Many of the 1,500 inmates are Brits. Most of them are awaiting trial for offences like drug smuggling, fraud and violent assaults. Many of them are career criminals with plenty of prison time in the UK, but even for them it's proving a tough place to survive.
No, the British prisoners do find it very tough because the food is not pleasant. The physical conditions in the cells are not good. OK, you can get a mobile phone, but that doesn't actually make up for the fact that your lavatory is a hole in the floor. According to one guy I know who's in there and got out recently, your food turns up covered in cockroaches.
Some of the Brits on the inside not only complain about the living conditions, but the constant brutality between the inmates. One man who knows all about Alhaurín is Paul Lees. After the cot death of his baby son, he was imprisoned here, suspected of his child's murder.
First day I was there on the module, there was an argument broke out. And then there's a young guy then walked off. He had his hand over his neck there with blood spurting onto his neck. He'd been stabbed in the neck with a ballpoint pen. Following day in the shower room, there was an African guy, and he was stabbed 3 or 4 times in the liver with a pincher, a toothbrush. That was horrific. The blood that comes out the liver is black. And he died. Following day, it was my turn.
Paul was brutally beaten up and stabbed with a ballpoint pen by a group of British prisoners who'd heard what he was in for. In the dog-eat-dog world of a prison, suspected child murderers are the lowest of the low. Paul was only able to survive by being put into isolation. His nightmare came to an end after 14 months, when his lawyer, who was recommended by the British consulate, appealed to the Spanish courts and proved his innocence. In Spain, suspects can be held on remand without charge for up to 4 years. So for any Brit in trouble with the law, it's essential to have a good lawyer.
The Spanish judicial system is very strange. Back in the UK, if you get arrested, you might be thrown in a cell overnight, but you can normally get bail the next morning. If the same thing happened in southern Spain, you are thrown into a jail cell and you might be there for 6 months to a year. And often you will never actually go to trial.
Despite his experience, Paul still lives in Spain, but he has a sombre warning.
Don't come here. If you do come here, be very, very careful. You could find yourself in this jail just for getting nothing more than a fist fight in a bar.
Back in Marbella, it's now 4 a.m. Officers Sergio Hernandez and David Montero have just turned into a quiet alley behind one of the club strips. Suddenly, Officer Hernandez spots 2 men and a woman acting suspiciously in a car park behind one of the most popular tourist nightclubs of the resort. He's convinced the trio were about to take some drugs, and as he gets out of the car, one of the men wipes something off the car roof. But he's not covered his tracks very well. There are still traces of white powder. Hernandez is convinced it's cocaine and starts searching the trio.
Quiero que me lo ponga usted aquí, y el caballero también.
The man in the black shirt admits the powder is cocaine, but still claims to be innocent.
No llevo nada y no me he metido nada.
Lo que hay era cocaína, ¿de acuerdo o no?
Bueno.
Vale.
Ahora me hace usted un análisis de sangre y si encuentra cocaína.
Although the people were preparing to take a line, the cops can't find any more drugs on them. Officer Hernandez searches the area around the car. It doesn't take long until he spots something. A bag, under the car directly next to where the trio was caught. Inside is the stash.
Chocolate.
3 grams of cocaine and a 70-gram bar of brown Moroccan hash, or chocolate as Spanish police call it. The game's up for the bag owner, and he knows it. But his wife's not ready to give up just yet, and turns on the charm. The man is arrested on suspicion of possession to supply. Many Spanish police officers regard anyone caught with over 1 gram of cocaine or 50 grams of cannabis as a dealer. They've got enough evidence to make a charge, so they stick him in the back of the van. But the officers haven't finished their search yet. It's time to check the car. If they find more drugs, the man could be sentenced to a lengthy prison spell. He's in real trouble now. In the boot, there's a gym bag with 100-gram bars of hash. The cops are now convinced that all three are a gang of professional dealers supplying small-time pushers. There's enough drugs here to take the whole lot of them in. It's all getting a bit much for the woman. She may not see her husband again for a very long time.
Escúchame, le pasará lo que le tenga que pasar. ¿De acuerdo? No es culpa nuestra. Eso es su marido.
And now for the second man. He's panicking and frantically proclaiming his innocence. But his pleas are getting him nowhere. This is a big haul for the local police, and they don't want anyone getting away. The police take them all down to the station to work out exactly how much trouble they're really in. After weighing the stash at the station, the suspects got caught with more than half a kilo of hash and 3 grams of coke, with an estimated street value of over £2,500. The man later admitted sole ownership of the whole stash and is currently awaiting trial. Investigations into the role of the woman and second man are still ongoing.